Hi, I'm Dr. Jerry Anderson. Thank you for watching us on The Learning Curve. You know, I was about to introduce my associate, Dr. Brad Shapiro, but wait a minute. Now I'm the associate. That's because, my friends, Dr. Shapiro is now the proud new owner of Ultimate Health Chiropractic, formerly Anderson Chiropractic. I'm Dr. Anderson, and of course, this is Dr. Shapiro. We're delighted to have you joining us on The Learning Curve, everybody. And Dr. Shapiro, if I had searched the world over, if I had put in a special order for the perfect associate to take over my practice and continue the work that I have tried to do, I could not have come up with anybody any more appropriate, fit, and perfect for it. And I'm very thankful to have you here with us. And I mean that in all seriousness. We have a lot of fun on this program, but that is a dead serious remark. So,
thank you, Doc. I appreciate it. I'm thankful it was available. I'm thankful you didn't sell it to somebody else.
well, you know, I got hurt in a skydiving accident several years ago, and I made a pretty good comeback, and I was able to hang in there for a pretty good while. But finally, some of the residual effects of that just tended to catch up with me. And it got hard to do the practice by myself. And it eventually, it obviously was time for me to bring in some help and then transfer to the new kid in town. Not new kid, he's actually a very, very sharp young chiropractor. And I am also very happy that you like the fit as well.
Absolutely.
With the rehab center, the therapeutic exercise center that we have, the other tools of the trade that we have available at the office that you have available now. Now, I like to think of myself as more sort of, not exactly retired, but sort of relaxed. You know, I'm still here. I have not disappeared. But to the patients who are coming to the chiropractic office, we want them to understand that if my input is needed, I'm next door here. I can help out, and I'm happy to do that. And also, this is a good time to say a very sincere thank you to the people who have been my patients the last 26 years here in Franklin County and from other counties, but primarily right here. It has been a wonderful thing. It's been an honor to have you place your trust and faith in me as your chiropractor, as your doctor. And I guess one of the finest compliments that I've heard from patients is those that have told me, you know, I don't think of you as my chiropractor, I think of you as my doctor, because I talk to you about everything. That is a very good feeling, Dr. Shapiro, and I know that you are of that same philosophy. You want to treat the whole body. It's not just a matter of pain syndromes, headache, neck ache, back pain, or what have you, but helping people actually feel good and function at their absolute top level. And so anyway, I'm grateful to have had the opportunity to be a part of this profession and do these things. And so at any rate, delighted to have you here.
Thank you very much, Doc. I really, really appreciate it. I was only halfway kidding when I said I really am thankful it was available, and it's a perfect fit, I think, for both of us. And you know, one thing I want to make sure you guys understand too that are watching is Dr. Anderson started something that was just so far and away ahead of his time. It's just not even funny. He was interested in things and looking into things, whether it be techniques or philosophies or perspectives that are just now starting to get recognition. I mean, that's the truth. You know, a lot of the mainstream things that you're hearing about, you know, you're hearing things like functional medicine and those types of that type of verbiage on Dr. Oz and on those types of shows that Dr. Anderson was doing a long time ago. And it's awesome to get an opportunity to walk into something like that and to carry that on and to meet somebody that's like-minded and, you know, just to carry on the tradition. So I really do appreciate everything you did, and a lot of the reason I have the opportunity I do is because of a lot of the fights that you fought.
You know, we have got an honest to goodness, real mutual admiration society going here, and but I love it, and it gives me a feeling of completeness or something like that to to sort of hand the bulk of the situation over to you, because I know you're capable and we're of like mind in this. You believe things sort of like the Edison quote. The doctor of the future will give no medicine, but will give direct his attention to the diet and frame. In other words, the frame of the human body. Yes. The holistic approach. And I knew that things were going to work out extra good when I heard you talking the blood chemistry solution. And you do the blood chemistry medicine's gold standard to help zero in on the nutrients, the supplements that are needed, and whether or not people are actually absorbing the nutrients they need, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's key to figure out what patients need, and then it's key to make sure they're absorbing it, just like what you just said. That's the analogy I like to use when people are not absorbing nutrition. Is it's kind of like they're dumping water into a cup with holes in it. You know, it's not going to do them a lot of good if they're not able to utilize it.
Right.
And the blood chemistry is a great tool to be able to do that. Just so you guys understand, I do what's called a functional blood chemistry versus a traditional blood chemistry. And what that amounts to is the ranges that are typically used for blood work, when blood work's typically done, are based on averages. Tennessee's the second unhealthiest state in the country. So it's kind of like Fat Albert setting your standard for health. You know, it's just, that. And you see a lot of patients who have a clean bill of health based on their blood work, but yet they still have digestive issues, they still have fatigue issues, they still have weight issues, whatever the case may be, where the ranges that we use are based on the healthiest cultures in the world, the blue zones where people live to be over 100. They're just much closer to true health. They're much tighter ranges. And so that's one of the huge differences. And then, of course, instead of using medications, we use clinical nutrition to help support the systems that need help. But it's just it's a tremendous tool. It can really make a huge, huge difference for a lot of patients.
I like something you said a while back, too, about the CDC in Atlanta has now acknowledged that probably 80% of the illnesses have an emotional component. I was really thrilled to hear you say that. And also to point out that D.D. Palmer, the founder of chiropractic, was way ahead of the ball game. I mean, the guy started in 1895 with what we know as chiropractic. He coined the term chiropractic, meaning in Greek to accomplish by hand. D.D. Palmer described a triangle, a triune of health that included three corners: the structure, the chemical or metabolic, and the mental, emotional, spiritual corner as well. And any corner of that triangle, that triad, that triune of health, can affect the other two, and vice versa. All sorts of correlations and combinations there. But the holistic approach, you know, I got to admit, it's sort of a self-defense thing, Dr. Brad, because I grew up in a situation I was not healthy. I had a rough time of it, and I looked for all sorts of things that stood a chance to help.
Sure.
And so it was just sort of natural for me to gravitate to this profession, I guess, and as we've talked in the past. But something else that I'm thinking about too, as we do these programs, I want our viewers to understand, we do this daily at 6:30 on Channel 40 on cable, but also we do these programs on YouTube, which people may be watching right now, but our YouTube account name is Spinal Curve Learning. You know, sort of similar to the learning curve, but it's Spinal Curve Learning. And we would invite people to tune in at every opportunity, and hopefully we'll have some good things for them to glom onto and maybe start that trek toward better health. And our producer, Will, has just indicated that we've got about a minute to let people know that we're going to be doing another segment shortly. And but anyway, thank you for being with us on The Learning Curve. We'll be back with more. Hi, I'm Dr. Jerry Anderson. Thanks for watching us on the Learning Curve. You know, I tend to introduce myself as the doctor at Anderson Chiropractic, but we got to back up on that a bit because Anderson Chiropractic has sort of morphed into Ultimate Health Chiropractic with my friend and associate, Dr. Brad Shapiro, as the lead man there. I'm just sort of relaxed now. You know? Not exactly retired, but sort of relaxed, and try to help out a little bit when possible or when needed. But anyway, thank you for being here. And as we said in the last segment, just terribly grateful to have a fellow who we're on the same page in so many ways in terms of what chiropractic's all about. And to have you kind of keep the work going.
Oh, thank
Really
you, Doc.
gra-
I really,
grateful
really
to have you.
appreciate it.
But something that we thought we might want to talk about today, and that is one of the differences between chiropractic, contrasting chiropractic with medicine and with physical therapy. The chiropractor has a professional school education that meets or exceeds minimum medical school, professional school requirements, meets or exceeds. And I guess probably what I've noticed in the 26 years that I've been a doctor, plus the 14 or so years, 15 years I guess it was, I was a patient before becoming a chiropractor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm troubled by the knowledge, the fact that so many good doctors, so many great ones, Dr. Jim Milliken of Memphis, Dr. Ted Riddick of McKenzie, Tennessee, Dr. Logan Wentworth of Lexington, just Dr. C.T. McCraw of Memphis, guys that were my doctors, and they did such an incredible job for so many people. They helped so many people where mainstream medicine could not help.
Mm-hmm.
And these guys never got anywhere near the recognition or the remuneration or their appreciation or acknowledgement for the good that they did. I'm talking about just some incredible stuff. You know, you never know what's going to walk into your office. It could be just some ailment that a person has had for 20 years, or, you know, oftentimes it's something, a pain syndrome will bring the patient in, and you start looking their situation over and say, wait a minute, have you been having a problem with like irritable bowel syndrome? Oh yeah, 20 years. Well, what are you doing? Are you? Nothing helps. And then all of a sudden we find the old ileocecal valve involved. Been doing this for 26 years here. The ileocecal valve, folks, is the segment of the intestine that separates the large intestine from the small intestine. It acts like a little valve that's supposed to open and close on demand, allowing the food substances to migrate from the small intestine, where it's largely liquid, into the large intestine, where some recycling goes on, reclaiming of minerals and stuff, and firming up of the waste material and everything. But anyway, it's a real bummer to be living with a problem like that. And it's also kind of aggravating as the doctor, quite honestly, to have people come in messed up with stuff like this that you might have been able to help, I mean, years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, just be ready for all that sort
Absolutely.
of stuff if you're a doctor of chiropractic.
Absolutely. I mean, I just did a talk this morning to a bunch of kids and over here at a local high school, and most of them just had no idea what a chiropractor was. Yeah, I mean, I don't expect most people to know exactly what we do, but these kids just really didn't have a clue about just some of the basics. And it's kind of like what you're saying. We would at least like somewhat of an even playing field where people can know we're available, they can know medicine's available, they can know physical therapy's available, whatever. But an even playing field where everybody's recognized, everybody's accounted for, and then from there patients can make good decisions. But it's one thing I'm passionate about, just because with my experience, I worked in a multidisciplinary clinic for several years in Chattanooga, and I almost got spoiled in the sense that I got to serve as the clinic director. I was essentially the quarterback for the clinic, so I was the first person patients saw, and then from there I would disperse them based on what they needed. But just getting an opportunity to be the first person they saw and to really get an opportunity to communicate what we do and to allow them to try something natural and less invasive like chiropractic first before they go into the extremes it was an amazing thing, and it was a really effective model. I mean, these patients really came out on top with those types of processes.
And that is a great thing to see. Your remark about a lot of the guys don't even know what a chiropractor is. that is why we do the show.
Sure.
Shows like this one, because quite honestly, I have found it frustrating. I thought, well, when I get out of chiropractic school, if I work really hard to work hand in hand with the medical community and demonstrate the effectiveness of chiropractic, well, everybody will be happy. You know, we'll get the patients well with good structural, and holistic care, nutritional stuff.
You'll be welcomed with open arms.
Yes. Now, that's not to say I have been very lucky to have had relationships with some excellent medical doctors here, and I'm very grateful to them, and it's an opportunity with this program to thank them for the relationship that we have had during the years that we have practiced here together. And so medical doctors who have been my friends and that we've shared patients with, I want to tell you how much I appreciate that relationship. I've always respected you, and I always will, because you are an integral part of healthcare. I'd hate to live in a world without you. I've needed you too many times myself personally. But also, I want to emphasize how important it is for chiropractic to be a part of the mainstream, because so many patients that I have seen have desperately needed chiropractic. Many of them not hurting for a few days or weeks or months, but literally for years. In our next segment, if we have time, maybe we can talk about that a little bit. But anyway, the physical therapy community, often we're confused. Well, chiropractor, they're just sort of a physical therapist, aren't they? No, we're not. We got DR in front of our name for a particular reason, and that is we have an education that meets or exceeds minimum medical school requirements. Now, I don't know how many times we have to say that before it begins to sink in, but that's the way it is. And the physical therapy community, incidentally, they've got some fine people and do some fine work. But the political arm of physical therapy has been trying to reach into chiropractic turf last several decades. And I know it's a quandary for them to have to acknowledge they'd like to be able to do spinal adjusting. Mm-hmm. They don't want to use the term spinal adjusting because that is unique to chiropractic. They want to use the old osteopathic term manipulation. But the Spinal Manipulation Safety Act makes this pretty much the exclusive domain of the chiropractor in Tennessee. And while we welcome their acceptance of the fact that the adjustment, the manipulation, as they call it, is desperately needed, well, we're delighted to have them do that. There's just one problem. We'd like for them to say, look, go to the chiropractor for that, and we're not going to learn it in a weekend course, the way that you guys do in 3.5 years, 10 semesters like medical school. But at any rate, Dr. Shapiro, maybe we can further discuss that a little bit in the next segment coming up on the learning curve. Incidentally, I want to mention again that we do this program on local cable access, Channel 40, 6:30 daily. Love to have you tune in. We try to change the programs from time to time so you don't have to watch us all over again. But then again, there are segments and there are portions of the programs that people may want to queue up and watch again because of the information contained herein. We also want people to understand that when they need health care from the health care provider of their choice, get that. We're using that as our disclaimer here because we know that we can't treat you over the airwaves here. And we want you to understand too that it is extremely important for you to get care that is tailored to your specific individual needs. And so hurry up and do that. Do it in a timely fashion so you'll stay okay. But anyway, we will discuss this and other subjects when once again we're back with another segment upcoming here shortly on the learning curve. Hi, I'm Dr. Jerry Anderson. Welcome as we continue with the learning curve. We're glad to have you with us. And with me is Dr. Brad Shapiro, or is it the other way around? I'm with Dr. Brad Shapiro now because, ladies and gentlemen, Anderson Chiropractic it's a new entity. It is Ultimate Health Chiropractic with its brand new owner and operator and my friend and fellow chiropractor, Dr. Brad Shapiro. And man, I cannot tell you how delighted I am to have you. I keep emphasizing this, and it's not just because I think that you're going to carry on the manner of treatment that I have tried to do in here in Franklin County the last many years, last 26 years or so. It's also for a selfish reason. You do one heck of a good adjustment, and I need it. I mean, I need it, man. A few years ago, I was doing crazy things like jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I've got this line I love to use on people when they say, why would anybody jump out of a perfectly good airplane? And I say, how do you know it's perfectly good? I might be getting out just in the nick of time, who knows? But that gets them. But anyway, I had a pretty serious accident, and I made a pretty good comeback and was able to hang in there for several years, but finally kind of caught up with me, and I knew I needed some help. And finally, it culminated in the purchase of the practice by this very not only attractive but also astute young man, Dr. Bradley Shapiro. Now the guy, the man at Ultimate Health Chiropractic. Now the girls are still having trouble changing, the answering of the phone. They may still say, "Hello, Ultimate Health Chiropractic," but we've just done this.
Yeah,
so.
Brand new.
But anyway, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, Doc. I'm very glad to be here and just excited to carry on a lot of the traditions you've started.
I love the way you characterized what we were talking about in our earlier segment. We welcome the medical and physical therapy communities to the reality that chiropractic has something extremely important and very unique to offer, and it is our adjustment, the spinal adjustment. And we were talking about how in recent years, physical therapy, the political arm of physical therapy, has tried to kind of reach into this turf. Oh, we can do that. Oh, really? Where'd you learn it? Well, we're going to do a weekend course. Oh, really? A weekend seminar, and you're going to learn this, huh? Folks, I'm telling you, we take 10 semesters, 9 or 10 semesters, depending on the school and its precise curriculum, to learn how to do this stuff. This is extremely complicated.
You mean you just don't do a bear hug?
The bear hug, that's what I was leading up to. I love your characters. No, we just don't do the locker room bear hug, although I got to admit that sometimes, just about anything to get a joint to release is a welcome relief, but you got to know what you're doing with this stuff in order to accomplish two very important things. Make the patient better, not worse. And number two, do some real serious good in getting them headed in the right direction. It's not easy. It's not something that you can learn in just a quick and easy weekend course. But now, it's your turn to talk. I'm sorry. I've been doing this so long I could rattle on for 30 minutes by myself.
Well, that's a great point about the idea of physical therapy and the adjustments, and there's a phrase called scope of practice for a reason,
Right.
and we all need to kind of stay within our scope. And when it comes to chiropractic adjustments, nobody does it better than a chiropractor. And as Dr. Anderson mentioned, we didn't just learn it in a weekend course. It's a very involved, specific process, and it varies from patient to patient. It varies from circumstance to circumstance, and you really got to know what you're doing, because it's like anything else. When used properly, it's wonderful. When used inappropriately, it can do some harm. So.
Well, one of my heroes is Boots Randolph. Will probably relate to this, but Boots Randolph, the saxophone player, the best. But a relative of his came to see me one time as a patient, and we were talking, and he was talking about helping at their nightclub, and which they had up in Nashville, up at Printer's Alley. He said the guy who ran the spotlight was always wanting me to pop his back. And he said, here, come pop my back. And he said, I always, I'd pop his back for him, and he'd feel better for a while, And he said, then one night he had to go to the hospital. So that was the end of the chiropractic, the amateur chiropractic hour at the club there.
Yeah.
It just, what happened, the joint, there was just something special wrong with it. It went into an incredible degree of spasm, and buddy, when that happens, your body will let you know. You may not die from it, but you may think you're going to die from it. I can personally attest to this because I've had that exact same thing happen to me. And so, try to get the adjustment from the chiropractor, In other words, do not attempt this at home, ladies and gentlemen. In fact, our standard disclaimer is, when you watch this program, and I would suggest anything that you see in the public venues, remember, you need care from your own doctor, the physician of your choice, whether it's a nurse practitioner, chiropractor, osteopathic physician, or a chiropractor like Dr. Shapiro and me. Get that care from your doctor, tailored to your specific needs, and hurry up and do it. You know, do it in a timely fashion so you stand a better chance at success. Am I right on that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't go out there and slide on a pair of brass knuckles and start adjusting things.
Right. But anyway, one of the things that you do that is kind of unique to, and incidentally, let me say this. The approach, the kind of chiropractic you get depends largely on the chiropractor and what he or she has in their toolbox.
Sure.
One of the tools that you have is the blood chemistry work that you do, which you do very well, the gold standard of medicine. And so you might want to mention a little bit again about that for the people who just tuned in.
Yeah, you've got the blood chemistry. As Dr. Anderson mentioned, it's the gold standard. Great thing about it is it's a blueprint of what's going on with the body's chemistry. With that, you can look for vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies, heavy metal toxicity, signs of infection, whole host of things. But there's a few big differences in the way that you would interpret it through a functional model. For one thing, the ranges are quite a bit different. The ranges that are typically used for blood work are based on averages, and Tennessee's the second unhealthiest state in the country. So it's kind of like, Fat Albert setting your standard for the values. It's not a real indication of health. It's the type of situation where, because of those types of deals, you see a lot of patients that have gotten a clean bill of health based on their blood work, but yet they still have digestive issues, they still have fatigue issues, weight issues, all kinds of stuff. Where the ranges that we use are based on the healthiest cultures in the world, all those blue zones where people live to be over 100. So essentially they're just much tighter ranges, and they're much closer to what we would consider real health.
You know, that is a really important point. The people sometimes, well, can't my medical doctor do the blood work? Yeah, they can, and they can evaluate it in their way. We evaluate it our way. I remember telling a medical doctor friend of mine, hey, guess what I learned? This has been years ago. Guess what I learned in an applied kinesiology seminar the other day? That you can have perfectly normal appearing thyroid chemistry, in your blood chemistry, and still be hypothyroid. And I thought, boy, this is going to kick off a wonderful argument. He's going to say, you chiropractors are crazy. He really surprised me when he said, Dr. Anderson, I've been trying to tell my colleagues this for years. I was stunned. The man, he was on top of this. He already knew this. And so, what the heck? What are we doing? Why? This ought to be shared a lot more than it is. But what I'm saying is, people need chiropractic, and they need chiropractors like Dr. Shapiro at the brand new Ultimate Health Chiropractic, formerly known as Anderson Chiropractic Health and Wellness Center. But really need that kind of thinking in their health care, because people can have stuff coming on for years. They can feel bad for years. Why not fix it?
Absolutely.
Or do your best to fix it with the good clinical nutrition and supplementation if necessary, lifestyle changes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But that's what we're all about, and I'm delighted to say that as the new doctor there, that we're on the same page with that. I feel good about it, as I said earlier too, not just for the sake of my patients, but for my own sake, because I need this stuff. I need chiropractic, and I used to tell people, they say, well, who do you go to for chiropractic? I say, well, I can't very well go to myself. I'm impossible to get an appointment with. I'm never there when I really need me. But anyway, it is wonderful to have you at what used to be Anderson, now Ultimate Health Chiropractic. And so we're out of time, aren't we? We're 30 seconds. Thank you for watching us on this program. Please tune in again when once again it's time for The Learning Curve. Till next time, we'll see you healthy, hopefully.